Okay, guys, this is going to be week 11, 12, and 13 all in one for this class and tomorrow's class because next week I want to do some exam review with you guys, and you guys have a project coming up, 20% worth of your mark, so I'm going to get that done. Okay, so global business environment. We're doing logistics and distribution, advanced logistics, law, policy, and regulation. Okay, so what's logistics? Everyone knows what logistics is, right? Overall process of managing how resources are acquired, stored, and transported to their destination. Um, Logistic managers referred to as logisticians. Logistics was initially a military term used in reference to how military personnel obtained, stored, and moved equipment and supplies. The term is now widely used in the business sector, particularly by companies in the manufacturing sectors, to refer to how resources are handled and moved along the supply chain. So basically, what logistics is how you move your product from one area to another. Okay, how you moving things from one area to another. Very easy. So understanding logistics and management in business. So in simple terms, the goal of logistics is to have the right amount of resource or input at the right time, getting to the appropriate location in proper condition, and delivering it to the correct internal or external customer. Okay, for example, in the natural gas industry, logistics involves managing the pipelines, trucks, storage facilities, and distribution centers that handle oil as it's transformed along the supply chain. So basically, they're talking here about the natural gas industry. What I used to do was the commodities industry. So we would crush soybean and canola on like a massive scale, and from that you get meal, right? Meal is protein for animals, and then you get the oil, and the oil was used for human consumption, like the cooking oil and stuff like that. But majority of it went to biodiesel. So they made biodiesel to run trucks and to run these diesel powered cars. So 90% of that oil that we would crush, we would sell it to biodiesel companies. So in the same situation, logistics was a very, very, very big thing for us, okay? Because I used to handle probably around 15 to 20 trucks would come in and out of our plant to go to different clients. And then we would have rail cars. I had 54 rail cars that I had to monitor all the time to make sure that these rail cars are going back to the customer and coming back. Sometimes the rail cars would get stuck in the winter, they would get stuck on the railroads. Not sometimes, all the time, right? So the rail cars were not as they weren't as efficient as trucks, but they're a lot more cost effective because you can sell so much more, right? So one rail car would take around 88,000 pounds of oil versus if you do a truck, you can only do, if you're selling it to the States, you can only do 44,000. So and the price of rail cars was a lot cheaper, right? Because you can sell so much more and even just trying to transport the rail car was cheaper. So you're making a lot more margins if you're selling a rail car. The only issue is your rail cars wouldn't come back in the winter because they get stuck on the CN rail or the CSP rail or all these different rails in the US as well. So that was that was that was what we called, that's how we handle our logistics. On top of that, I told you guys about the ships. We used to have oil ships that would come in, these big oil ships, and we would come and they would come to our port, and we'd send the oil from our plant to the Survey tank, which was these big tanks sitting at the port, and then from there, the Survey tank would load the ships. So that's the logistics of moving the oil from first off buying the seeds, right? You have to buy the seeds, bring the logistics into the plant, manufacturing the plant, all the logistics that goes on there, store it in our plant, and from the plant you store it in, you either send it to Survey tank or the trucks come in, rail cars come in, and from our tanks we send them out. So an efficient supply chain and effective logistical procedures are essential to reduce costs and to maintain and increase efficiency. So, for example, when those ships used to come in, when I first started, the company was so bad, man. The reason why I was hired there was to turn around the business and try and sell it. Okay, so they put a new team together to try and turn around the business and sell it. They needed someone to come out there and handle the oil sector. I was very young, but I said, you know what, I'll do it. They needed someone. Not a lot of people wanted to go out to Trois Rivières because it's a very horrible place to live. But I needed work, I needed money, and it was a really good opportunity, so I took it. And so when I went out there, um, what I saw initially was the ships would come in, and because we didn't have our planning, done correctly, the ships would wait there for a day or two, or maybe sometimes 3 days. But the issue with that is every time you tell a ship to come in and wait, they have costs. $18,000 a day was their cost. So almost $60,000 was given to them just based off the fact that we were late. Our logistics didn't work. We didn't manufacture on time, right? So we didn't get the oil ready on time. So that was a huge issue for us. And I realized I'm like, why is that happening? So I try to figure out why that's happening. Why it's happening is because we had poor planning internally in our office. Documentation was taking so long to get. One second, guys. Amira! Sorry, guys. So basically, logistics was very difficult very difficult initially at our plant because our offices were doing a very bad job. The people in the offices weren't planning right. Um, they weren't having the oil ready on time. The plant wasn't manufacturing properly. It was just really bad. So internally, what we did was, when I came in, we never sold a ship unless the oil, we knew for a fact the oil was going to be there. So once we started producing, that's the only time I started selling an oil ship. So for example, one time there was a ship that came in, and the reason it came in is because we had 6,000 metric tons of oil that we wanted to sell. Okay, and the documentation usually takes around 2 days, and then you get paid on like the third or fourth day. So 4 days, 5 days goes by. What I did with this guy was I had 6,000 metric tons. I said, you know what? I called one of my brokers. I said, hey, I got 6,000. Do you have a ship around me who wants to come pick it up? And then they started calling around, blah, blah, blah. Found a guy. He came, he picked it up the same day. The ship came and picked it up the same day. And literally a day later, I had all the documentation, all the paperwork ready. All they had to do was just fill it out. So before it was like, oh, okay, now the ship's gone. Now we have to start all the documentation, get the paperwork ready here, do this. I had all that stuff ready even before the ship came in. So then they just had to fill it all out, and in one day we got paid, and it was the fastest. I don't know how much we made, like $10 million. Fastest $10 million we made in a very, very, very long, probably ever in the company's history. So in one day they made $10 million. Cash was wired to the bank account, and so little things like that, right? You have to understand logistics, you understand what's really happening in the company, in order to increase profits. So for example here, poor logistics leads to untimely deliveries, failure to meet the needs of clientele, and ultimately causes the business to suffer, right? That's very true, because you lose a lot of margins. In the modern era, the technology boom and the complexity of logistics process have spawned logistics management software and specialized logistics-focused firms that expedite the movement of resources along the supply chain. There's a lot of new businesses that are now in place that are building technology that will make logistics a lot faster. For example, Amazon, guys. Amazon is literally the best company in the world to me, I think. Their logistics, the way they handle things, handle customers, it just is the top. I've never seen anything like it. Overall innovation and efficiency of logistics along with every link of supply chain. So basically Amazon, they just dominate retail because their logistics is so good. They got robots, they got people who are on the clock, around the clock, delivering to the clients. It's ridiculous. So what's materials management? So it's a core supply chain function, includes supply chain planning and supply chain execution. Specifically, materials management is the capability firms use to plan total material requirements. So basically, really, material management is responsible for purchasing the highest quality equipment and products at the lowest possible cost for the organization. Material management is also responsible for managing purchasing, inventory control functions, shipping, receiving, and also planning and administering department budgets. So basically, really, all you're doing is you're just trying to get material management. Is just you're trying to purchase the best product at the lowest price. That's materials management, right? So, like I said, I don't know if I gave you guys an example. If you're building a cell phone and you want to build a sturdy cell phone, right? But You want to get something that's a little better than just a regular Gorilla Glass, right? You want something strong, right? So if you have complaints from your clients that, the glass is breaking so much because you're using one certain specific product, all you're hearing is the glass is breaking. That's where your materials management comes in, because you're like, you know what, we have to find something that's better for the same price, right? It's tough, but there's ways to get it done. Okay, so like we said, different types of material management. Materials requirement planning, purchasing, inventory planning and control, flow and supply of materials, quality control of materials. Okay, so materials requirements planning. So the amount of material utilized directly affects the profit earned by the organization. Lesser the amount of material used. So basically, they're trying to they're doing a lot of just-in-time inventory, which is you only order when you need it and it comes exactly on time. You use it and you send it out, not storing too much inventory. Okay, we talked about this before, where there's automated purchasing, right? And purchasing, the profit gained by any organization depends on the efficient and economical purchasing. So purchasing is very important because you have purchasing departments that work to find the best product for the cheapest price. And that's what purchasing does. And then a lot of times, if you're a purchaser, you're negotiating with suppliers all the time. Right? Hey, come on, give me a better price on this, give me a better price on that. So simple rule: lesser cost of purchasing material, more the profit will be gained. Okay, so if you're building something and you're buying your supplies and the cost of it is $100, if you go to another supplier, he said, hey, I can do it for $50, that means you just made $50 in your pocket more profit. Inventory planning and control. There are three types of inventories: raw material, purchased goods, and finished parts and components. So basically, inventory planning and control, you got to make sure that you're planning and obviously controlling your inventory. You know what you want, when you want it, and you have total control over it. And there's three types of inventories that you do this for: is your raw materials, right? Your purchased goods, and your finished parts and components. So you have to have inventory, and you need to know exactly what you have in stock and when you have it coming in and all that. So it's very important. Flow and supply of materials. Material management is a vital part of supply chain management. Lack of inventories creates situations and stockouts. So you have to know flow and supply. You have to have the flow. You have to have a constant flow of your inventory. You need to know that it's coming in all the time, right? Because if you don't have that, it's very difficult to get any products completed because your flow is not moving, right? So it's a lot. There's a lot of little things that go into that, but basically you want to have the flow and supply of materials. And then quality control materials, you want to make sure that the quality that you're using, the material in production is of great importance. Um, the quality of starting material determines the quality of finished goods, right? So basically, you want to have good quality stuff that you're using, right? Quality control. You want to have a team there that just all they do is they work on quality control. So durability, dependability, performance, reliability, aesthetics, stuff like that. That's all part of the quality control. So what are some top logistics issues, right? So if you're a logistics company, you're a trucking company, and you have some work you need to get done. Let's say you got a contract with I don't know, Walmart, right? What are some logistics issues that Walmart faces or your company faces? I think mostly it's Walmart that faces the Walmart faces those issues, but and also the companies face it because they're both working together. And so the first thing is fuel costs, right? It's very hard if you're Walmart, it's very hard for you um, to try and get a lower price because fuel costs are so high and everyone is competing, right? And no one wants to undercut to the point where they're losing money. And then as a logistics person, as a person who runs a trucking company, it's very hard to compete against people who are it's very competitive because the fuel costs is a fixed thing. You know you have to pay a certain amount for fuel. So to try and build your margins into there and try to get Walmart, it gets a little difficult, right? So business process improvement, right? So there's issues of logistics issues about implementing new business process expensive. Like for example, electric trucks. Elon Musk is trying to come up with electric trailer, truck trailer. It's gonna be way more efficient on gas, but it's expensive to implement it, right? There's electric trucks, right? You have a full logistics companies, these trucking companies have a full warehouse that fixes and maintains trucks. How are you gonna fix and maintain an electric truck? Your guys are not, your people are not, um, they're not qualified to fix those stuff, right? Improve customer service, right? Logistic issues is trying to improve customer service. There's so much happening right now. Amazon's doing so well. The customer service is so amazing. And you know, there's so many shipments go out. So many shipments. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of shipments go out from Amazon warehouses. But yet everyone has they have tracking information on it. How crazy is that? And that's tough. That's tough to do because you have to implement that stuff, right? The economy is an issue, right? You know, gas prices go up, driver shortage and retention. You see this all the time. I was in the logistics industry for a few months, and it was very difficult to find good, reliable drivers. Government regulations, environmental issues, and technology strategy implementation, right? So technology is a big thing, right? When everyone is doing so well with their logistics because their technology is so, you know, like Amazon has so much technology, how are you supposed to compete with that, right? It's very tough to compete with that. So what's international trade laws? We're not going to get into law. We're just going to touch on this just a little bit. International trade law is a set of laws and agreements that govern commerce between countries. So basically, international trade law, I think we spoke about this before, is these are laws that are in place for government to government, business, so country to country business. And these are international laws. So you know how we have laws within the economy, we have trade laws within your own country. These are from country to country. So it creates rules that countries and businesses must follow in order to do business across borders. Very simple. And lastly, international security, also called global security, is a term which refers to measures taken by states and international organizations such as the United Nations, European Union, and others to ensure mutual survival and safety. So international security is basically just security that happens around the world. Guys, I'm going to post this. I want you guys to watch it. We're going to go live, and then we're going to have a discussion, and then we're going to talk about your guys' project. I'm going to make you guys do a project, so it's 20% worth of your mark, all right? See you guys in class.